Alright, so it's a little bit of a special stream today. As you know, I know the combat designer of this game. He is actually on Discord talking to me right now. We cannot play co-op because he's on the other end of the globe. It wouldn't really be showing the game in a positive light, so he's just going to be commentating and watching the stream. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, my name is Peter Visser, and I worked on Jitsu Squad. I was the lead programmer and combat designer. And yeah, I'm here to share all the secrets of tag with you guys.
Alright, so I'm going to be playing on easy tag mode. And let's just get going. Hey guys, hello. Yeah, this was the surprise I mentioned earlier stream a couple hours ago. It's just there's like a massive time difference, so it's kind of hard to do this. It's already like 11 p.m. over here. I don't know what time it is over there.
It's 8 o'clock in the morning.
Oh yeah, it's not ideal
so
for both of us, really.
Right on the edge of each day.
Yeah. So if you guys are wondering how I got this connection, basically there was a game called Shattered Realms, which they kind of got funding for a prototype of it. But I guess for a variety of reasons, the game never actually happened. I recommend playing that demo. It's really awesome. I played the shit out of it. That's how I met Peter, and then Jitsu Squad came to be a couple years later. He landed the job for this, so that's how this connection happened. I also have some keys to give away. I haven't quite decided what I'm going to do with those yet. I gave like 3 to the people in my Discord. I'm probably going to do like a quiz or something. Just a quiz for stuff on the channel. I may just give them away randomly. But yeah, he gave me 10 keys, so I think a couple of you already own the game. Actually, both of my mods in here already own the game. They bought it themselves because of because of me playing it. But yeah, there will be some keys later on if anyone has any interest. We can go ahead and do that later. Maybe later in the weekend or something.
Sweet. I just want more people to play the game.
Yeah, my mods, people, they like to stalk my wish list because they rely on me to find cool games and stuff. So
okay.
I woke up the morning that this came out, and you were busy. I didn't want to really bother waiting for a key, so I just bought it myself. But then I went on Steam, and a bunch of them had already bought it. So
thanks for the support, guys.
yeah, a lot of people that watch the streams bought it.
Cool.
Yeah, Power Flood is one of those stalkers I'm talking about. He likes to look in my wish list for cool games. Creepy people
Almost
that watch
like
me.
a recommendation list.
Huh?
Almost like a recommendation list.
Yeah, they all stalk my my wish list. Cause I like look for cool games like this, stuff that's like obviously I knew about this game, but like things I haven't heard of before. I'll give it an honest shot. If you have any questions for Peter, you guys can go ahead and post it. I'm not like I'm not a super esports level streamer, so I don't think he'll be too overwhelmed. You guys can go ahead and ask him questions, and he'll answer if he chooses to.
If I can.
Yeah, if you can and you want to. That's what. Nah, that's not true. That's a lie. I was just messing with them. I don't know, the wish list is kind of like a half prediction of what I'll be playing. Whether I can say it or not. You know, I couldn't say that I was beta testing this, obviously. So, Peter, there were a lot of times where I would be streaming and I would tell people, the couple weeks I was a beta tester, I would tell people, I'm going to play something off stream. What I was playing was this. I just couldn't tell them.
Oh, the curiosity there must have been, the intrigue.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, I gotta log off and play something offline, and that's all I could really say. Oh, there's a question for you.
So no, Shattered Realms was actually the culmination of, I think, 3 other prototypes. I first wrote something more like akin to like a platformer, which had some kind of combat mechanics. And then I tried something else because that state machine was like horrible, so I tried something else, and that was more like a brawler. And then I sort of combined those 2 prototypes because the one had a nice, had nice combat mechanics, and the other one had a nice state machine, and I threw them together. And I heavily relied on games such as Marvel vs. Capcom and Guilty Gear. I sort of looked at what their combat mechanics were and tried to emulate them. Because I always thought that, those were great mechanics. If you ever had to have a brawler, those would be great combat mechanics to have in them. And this was just me trying it out, seeing like, does it look good? Does it feel good? And I put out like a very early prototype. It was like stick figures basically. And I showed it to the local game dev community. At that stage it didn't have a name yet. But just from the stick figures, people were saying like, wow, this feels amazing. And that's when I sort of knew, okay, I think I've got the combat mechanics nailed now, so now I just need something, nice and visual. And then one of the people that was working at Free Lives, the guys that made Broforce, he said he so wants to work on this. He was one of the artists, but he also, big love of fighting games and brawlers. And he actually worked for free. In his spare time, he created the first Shattered Realms demo, which had the sharks in. I don't know if anyone in chat has ever seen that before. It is still on Edge. I did make it available again because somebody actually asked for it. But that was sort of the first go at making the combat system sort of like, this is what I want it to be like. Because my big inspiration for making brawlers like this was Super Street Fighter 3 Alpha. And no, Super Street Fighter Alpha 3, where you had the dramatic battle mode and you could team up with a friend against a PC opponent. And that was just so much fun for me. Me and my friend would always like with Kin and Ryu and double Akuma, double Shin Akuma.
Yeah, I used to do that at the arcade too. We used to go on both sides of the AI and just mash jab. That was fun.
Yeah, that's so much fun. 199 combo. And that to me was so much fun, and I always thought, why wasn't there a brawler like that? Because it's so incredibly fun. just to have something like the complexity of fighting game mechanics within a setting, a looser setting, like say for instance a brawler. And I never saw anything like it. So that's how Shattered Realms got born. We then got some money from Freelance because obviously the guy working with me, they sort of looked over his shoulder and said, hey, what is this? And they said they would incubate us for 6 months to see if can get a nice coat of paint on the game. Can it be more marketable? And that's what we did, and that's how Shattered Realms was born. So that was sort of like I took the old one with Sharks and improved it even more, and then Shattered Realms was born. Unfortunately, we struggled to find publishers at that stage. I think currently publishers are way more open for brawlers because there's been so many good brawlers coming out recently, and they're showing it.
Yeah, things have definitely changed since Shattered Realms was incubated, but at the time there was a lot of stigma towards it. Just weren't that many good games coming out. Now there's like 2 more coming out this month.
I'm happy. Like more brawlers.
I'm very happy too, but unfortunately, Shattered Realms at the time, and the publishers were like, we don't want to publish a game of the old ass genre like that. And now Street Sport came out and sold like 2 million copies or whatever. Now they're like, we want to piece that now.
But you can I can understand from like an investor's point of view. Those guys have to they analyze risk differently. But unfortunately, we didn't quite get the traction with that. But doing some freelance work, I got contacted by Tanuki Studios, and they had a look at the demo. And then they said, like, can you do the same thing for us? And they showed me some art of Jitsu Squad. And I was just like, immediately I'm all in, because they just like, I could see the immediate appeal of the game. The art style was just immediately popped, and you could sell the game on its looks alone. And then I knew that the combat mechanics would be good because I've been testing them out for a while with Shattered Realms.
If you guys want to see Shattered Realms, I put up a lot of videos for that because I was really hoping the game would get made too. I put up I don't remember what I did for that game, but I did some crazy stuff for it. You can go look for it if you want. It's there if you want to see it.
Yeah, that game is really loose. Because it's Shattered Realms sort of started out the first one with the Sharks. I just have to be very sure that's a long time ago, but I think it had a cancel system similar to like what Jitsu Squad has, where you have your change weapons, stuff like that. You had punch, kick, special things, and one day I just thought, like, why not just make everything cancel into everything except itself? And I just tried it, and it was immediately so much fun that I never took it out. So that's how the loose system for Shattered Realms came about. The only thing I did put in was similar to the Killer Instinct Blowout, where if you repeat any move on a standing enemy, they get launched, and then juggling gets harder. Just to prevent like silly infinites where you're just like stomping on the guy the whole time, and they're standing on the ground and they can't get away. But yeah, do forgive me if I go off on tangents. I tend to do so. Oros's grab on enemies, on bosses. Maybe. We were thinking about it. The thing is with throwing is that you need a lot of sprites to be able to have them in the various hit states. So when you grab an enemy, you have to know, like, okay, I need a sprite where he's sort of like hunched over so that I'm holding him so I can punch him out for something like that. And for the bigger enemies, we just didn't have time to draw that. So it's literally a question of drawing those frames and then allowing those to be grabbed. You could maybe have auras that have like a higher grab strength than the other characters, then maybe you can pick up an Oni. But yeah, we didn't have time to implement this, so we just said, some enemies can't be grabbed. which made the development easier. So you can just you didn't have to do those frames where they grab by you. And get
Yeah, that's why a lot of sprites, they don't get that many new frames of animation, like the alpha sprites, Street Fighter Alpha.
Yeah.
They used that shit for like 10 years. It's just
and I can understand why.
It's too hard to add on to it. The sprites in this game are very good. I really like the art style of this game. I think this is... I'd say this and Mayhem Brawler are like the best looking modern beat-em-ups right now, at least the past couple years.
Absolutely.
Mayhem Brawler is very clean looking too.
Yeah, I know the art team did a fantastic job with Jitsu Squad. Every time a new enemy went in, it was just like, wow, like a new move or weapon attack. Aura specifically, actually, was absolute nightmare for the artist because those scales on his body are all individually drawn. It was like the artists were crying when they were doing that. But yeah, so the boss throwing thing we'll look into if we can. Dash was at some point throwable, but we found out you could cheese him very easily by just throwing him in between two characters and then giving him a couple of knees and then throwing him back and then giving him a couple of knees and you could infinite him, which was kind of fun, but yeah, I can understand why the guys wanted it out.
Yeah, you put out a game like this, it's like opening Pandora's box. People will just find ways to break it. You know.
My philosophy has always been, if it's difficult, like if there's any amount of effort required to get the game to break, and I'm talking about this breaking is in terms of like you cheesing it or you're like exploiting some mechanic. If it's, if it requires some effort on the player's part, I'll leave it in. If it's trivial to do like just mashing one button, then I'm like, that's not really compelling. But if like there's this one guy who did a 200 hit parry against Dash in the demo, and because it gives you a 10% damage bonus, he was doing 2000 damage and he just did his super and from full health he killed the boss. So in one single hit. So, and I was just like, wow, that's amazing, I'm never taking that out.
Yeah, I've definitely played some games lately. I'm sure those of you who have been watching my streams for the past month will know the game I would mention. Some games are too easy to break, and it's not fun. When there's some effort and execution involved in breaking the game, it's more fun for me at least. I mean, it kind of varies from person to person, but
I'm sorry, Radical, I'm not sure I understand your question correctly. Let's maybe you can help me out. Is it realistic to see changes to the issues of the game before all content is released for it? Does that mean bugs?
I think he means the things that have been mentioned on the Steam forums.
Oh yeah, we're hoping to have we're hoping to have a patch out by the end of next week. Addressing definitely all the tag bugs, and also all the 4-player bugs that we were having. Where if a certain player dies and gets carried through the life force to the other characters.
I do have a I can talk to Peter at any time, so if you guys have feedback, you can always send it to me and I can send it to him, but they can't really talk about exactly what they're going to be changing.
Yeah, it's going to be mostly bug fixes, trying to just get the game running as stable as possible.
Yeah.
And then then we're going to be looking forward because we've got the Steam and PlayStation and Switch releases coming up. So we have to start preparing for that next week, drawing up a plan of how we're going to get that done. Yeah, stability comes first. We want to make the game first. We want it to
Oh,
run
definitely,
stable.
yeah. You know, when I was beta testing this, I told you I bought Stranger of Paradise, and that game barely worked. And that game is... it gotta be a lot more budget than this. More people working on it. That game is worse put together, so... Stability is important, especially these days, you know? You put out a game that barely works, it can be really hard to recover from. I'm not saying this game was not that way.
The fans are willing to forgive.
Huh?
We're just hoping the fans are willing to forgive.
No, there's nothing like really...
And be patient.
You gotta look at Cyberpunk, Peter. Batman Arkham Knight on PC. Before you feel bad about any bug in your game. Come on now. Your game has not been removed from Steam for 6 months because it didn't work. So I think you have a one-up on the AAA guys. I'm still in shock that happened. Like, the game was so broken they had to stop selling it. Like,
yeah, that's rough.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to be the person who makes that decision.
Well, luckily your game is not like that.
Thanks,
not
man.
Cyberpunk PS4.
JD Lightshade. The art style was pretty much nailed down. The trailers for the game ended up looking a lot like, because initially what they did was they didn't have a program for the game. All they had was this vision of what it would look like and what the moves would look like. So they actually put together an animated trailer, and I don't know if you can still find that. On Kickstarter, it was the first Kickstarter, but that entire thing was just the magic of the animators putting a video together of what they think the combat would look like. And we actually ended up with something I think looks better than the first mock-up. When they showed it to the investors the first time, and they said sort of like, this is what the game looks like, and they were like, oh, is this the video? And they're like, no, this is the game. And they couldn't believe that the game was so close to the video that they presented to them. So in terms of that, the art style was pretty much always preserved. I think they added more detail. So the detail in the game now is more than what the trailer initially had. In terms of background animations and things like that, they really went to town. Lily Maki getting chased by the shark in the background. I love those little details.
I don't know if you guys noticed, but in the second level, all 3 Fight and Rage main characters, playable characters, are in there. They're on different screens, but all 3 of them are there. Norris, Ricardo, and Gal. When I was beta testing this, I was really happy to see that.
No, I have a good relationship with Sebastian Garcia. We talked about, he was still using GameMaker 8 at that stage for Fight and Rage, so since this was made in GameMaker as well, I often, just picked his brain and said, like, I'm having trouble with something with this, can you help me? And he usually could just put me, here's a link, this is how I solved it. So it was really nice of him. And I have the greatest respect. Like I would say that if you're going to make a retro style brawler, Fight and Rage is sort of the yardstick you should build yourself.
Yeah. I'm really happy. He made his money back on that. I know he had he's talked about how he had a really rough living situation. That game kind of turned it around for him.
Yeah. I saw the house he lived in previously. It was rough, and now the game is able to support him and his family. He had a boy. I immediately asked him. Yeah, I immediately asked him, "Are you going to name him Guy?" Because it feels like he sort of has to.
Yeah, I got my hands on all these beat 'em ups. I was on that one too before it came out. I helped him. He was worried about the translation, so he gave me a couple lines and stuff, and I helped clean it up for him. He's not a native English speaker. That was all I did on that one. I didn't have any other input. But he was really grateful for me, because I was like the only one really putting out like mechanics and stuff for it. It took a while for him to really get off its feet.
That was round about the time Shattered Realms' demo, the one that got incubated by Free Lives. That's just about the same time they released, close to when we released the demo. So it was also still the Brawler Dark days, and yeah, I couldn't chill his game enough because I just thought like, wow, this is how you do brawlers.
These games are hard to make. They're like, it's like I tell my stream this a lot, but it's like blacksmithing, where, you know, we only have like a couple people left that can blacksmith on par with people from the medieval era. It's kind of how beat-em-ups are.
It's kind of a
really hard
art.
thing to grasp, especially if people didn't play the right games growing up. That's the other thing too. Is there's a lot of rough beat-em-ups. Some you might not want to draw inspiration from certain things.
Yes, and I look to them as well for inspiration. Sometimes you learn what you know from the mistakes of other people. That's the best way to learn. Is from other people's mistakes. So you can analyze them and see sort of like, okay, this doesn't feel good. Why? And then how could you maybe do it better so it feels better? Or you listen to the people's complaints. That's another thing. I listen to the feedback that people gave on other brawlers, and then sort of like, okay, I can sort of see where they're coming from and try to sort of incorporate that knowledge into the design of my games. Because I just want a smooth combat experience. I don't want you to ever feel like you're in a position where you do not have agency. Which is one of the things that you actually helped with. It's one of the lesser known features is that you cause the adding of an additional type of hit stop, and it's called mandatory hit stop. So when you do, say for instance, a very big hit like Heroes Hyper Chain 4, like the last one, you will go through a stage of mandatory hit stop, which is the normal hit stop. And then after that you can freely cancel at any point, or you can just leave it, and then as enemies walk into it, they, so you can decide to stay frozen and then have them walk into the hitbox, because that feels awesome, especially if you do it in front of one of those Umaki portals and they all teleport into it. But I didn't want to take away the freedom of being able to, because if you remain in that hit stop, that's one of the things you said, you feel stuck, and I didn't want that feeling. So in other words, the cancel windows remain the same while still giving you the ability to sort of let it rock. Is probably the best way I can describe it. So you just
let people have fun.
Let the special move just hang there in the air and hit as many enemies as you want. And then once the mandatory hit stop runs out, then you can freely cancel into the next. In other words, your timing for combat didn't change. So if you were used to doing the final slash and you do a fireball, it would always come out after the mandatory hit stop, but you could let it rock and wait for other enemies to walk into it, which also felt good. So I didn't want to trade up the one for the other. So that's where mandatory hit stop got born. Is Tetsu saying like it felt stuck, When he said he felt stuck, and I tried it myself, and I was like in that hit stop, and I just wanted to uppercut, and they were just hitting enemies. I was like, okay, I get what he's talking about. So a lesser known feature of the game. It's just basically in the background. There's so many things in the game that are just like, for instance, these bat bones. I've always hated flying enemies in games, and I think everyone does.
Yeah, see, that's why you're a good game designer,
So the bat bones and all flying enemies in the game will pick one of the like, even if they're idle, they're not attacking anyone at that stage, they will pick one of the players and they will stand in line with them. So they will always be so if you're jumping and attacking, they will never be out of plane with you. They will always be in plane. even though they're not attacking you. So their idle is always atop online, making them way less irritating to deal with. So they're always in your like that. They're always in your should always be in your plane. If you're multiplayer, then obviously they might choose another player, and then they'll be out of plane with you. But someone will be able to just jump and hit them. Because again, I find flying enemies to be really irritating, especially if they do that 360 around you. It's just impossible to hit them. Thank you, JD Lightside.
Yeah, DFO is a game I used to play a lot on this channel. Many years. That was one of the first games I really played on here regularly, besides the Muso stuff. Way back. We're talking like 2008. Fortunately, that game's really not much of a beat 'em up anymore, so I kind of fell out of love with it. The fighting game is cool, though. That's coming out soon.
So JD Lightshade, with regards to inspiration from Fight and Rage and Streets of Rage, I was very selective. It was more the quality of life things that I looked into inspiration, because the combat is so different. We use, like, the game is literally just a fighting game engine in a brawler setting. You have instant deterioration, so normal enemies don't utilize that, only bosses really do. But if we ever wanted to make enemies more difficult, we could give them air recovery and stuff like that, and would make them way trickier to deal with. But it's literally just a fighting game engine, so we built our own engine and didn't really look at other brawlers in terms of combat mechanics.
Yeah, I think we can all agree that best thing Streets 4 gave us was a pickup button. I always bring up this example of the extreme of how bad it can be not have a pickup button. The second half of Alien vs. Predator basically becomes a 2D shooter, but you know, there's just so much crap on the ground. It feels like you're a janitor after like a concert or something. Like you can't use your moveset anymore, and you can't even shoot because you keep picking up another gun, because at the end of the game you fight the military or whatever they are. It just becomes a mess. And like, if that game had a pickup button, I feel like the second half of it would be like a lot less frustrating. But I always say that's the best thing Street 4 gave us, because that was something that's been overdue for literal decades. Alien vs. Predator is a pretty extreme example, but that game is really highly regarded, and I always feel like that's always been my biggest criticism of it.
True, but it did a lot of things right as well. They were really pioneers in terms of just like, you know, upping the moveset and stuff.
Yeah.
Barring a few frustrations, it was still like a really, really good arcade brawler. But Fight and Rage, what did we do? Yeah, just conveniences, like being able, it's like all the thousands of small things, like when you go into a menu and you've selected all your characters, to have that little dialogue box that says okay, or having move lists within the game for your characters. So it's like all those tiny little things. I do look to the other brawler games and I sort of see like, I really like this. I should put it in my game as well. But yeah, the combat mechanics is sort of our own special sauce, which is basically just Marvel vs. Capcom and used gear. Interesting thing about the chicken stick, when you transform, well, when you kill an enemy with it, it leaves a chicken and an egg, and the egg contains double the resources that the enemy had that you killed.
Huh.
So
yeah, I know about the double jump, the triple jump as well. I found that one out myself.
No. What I mean is, The chicken that gets transformed, the egg that it lays, contains double the resources that the original enemy would have dropped. So if it's in a market, it would drop 2 scrolls. If it's other enemies, the amount of orbs and treasure that comes out of it doubles. So you can level up really fast with Jazz if you get the chicken stick early on.
The mace is really good because it has a lot of hits done on it. So it's really good for bosses. Kind of finish a combo with it. So another good thing this game does is the weapons don't suck. Because that's been a staple in beat 'em ups too, is they're usually like just a straight downgrade. The weapons not only give you new moves in this game, they also give you hidden properties. Like one of Jazz's weapons actually gives you a triple jump, which for him is huge because he can jump cancel his aerial attacks. So
yeah,
you're getting a whole other extension of that move.
Throw in a couple of bonks, maybe. I don't know. Yeah, I've seen people go off screen with him. But you need an enemy with enough health. Oh, I don't know about Frost. Dash is definitely gonna make it in. That's already been planned. But we're not sure about Frost. We still need to discuss whether or not we're gonna have the time to put him in. We know he's a fan favorite, so we really would like to see the fans happy, but that's gonna come down to scheduling. Seeing if we have time together with all the other content that from the Kickstarter that we still need to add to the game.
I'll say another good thing about this game too. The Kickstarter did not have what I like to call a feature creep, where you know, they promised like, you know, 10 new characters and like a whole new 10-hour side story and like all this ridiculous stuff that's like, you know, even if the people making it like unhealthily crunched, like it would take years to come out. You know, a lot of the stuff that they did the Kickstarter for this game, stretch goals, so like a lot of them do involve existing assets like harder difficulty, the tower challenge, the tag mode and stuff. You know, I actually didn't have the money to back the project, but that was something that I really appreciated. Because, you know, we're still waiting on Bloodstained stuff. Like, that game got released like 3 years ago. That stuff's still not all out yet. I like that you guys really tempered the expectations, you know? Like, it's stuff that adds on to the game, but it's not like a ridiculous amount of content.
We tried to be as accurate as we could.
Yeah.
Sort of for the peers and see sort of like we knew at that stage we'd already worked on the game for a year, so we had gotten a sense of what type of effort everything takes.
Yeah, what'll get people to donate so you have more funds, but also won't take like 15 years.
Yes. So anything that uses assets like the Street Fighter games did, you know, we're there.
Yeah, I thought that was very wise. You guys definitely did your homework with the Kickstarter. A lot of people really get turned off by that because it's like, you know, you can't add like a dozen more characters, you know, without like having to feel like you got to put the game in your will or something, like, you know. Like, you got to keep it like somewhat realistic.
True.
Plus, you guys had a playable demo as well, which a lot of people have said. A lot of crowdfunding for games has been really poisoned by all the scam ones and stuff. So when you come out and you have like, okay, we have the game like playable and engine. We've been working on it for a while. You know, we actually proved that we actually know how to make a game. That can go a long way, and it definitely did for you guys. You guys got most of the stretch goals.
Yeah, we hit more than we thought we would hit.
Yeah, I was anxiously watching that. I remember I woke up and the tag mode was was funded, and I'm like, all right, everything's all right with the world right now.
The world can return to normal now.
I was very happy to see that.
Oh man. Yeah, I was really happy to add it as well. It's one of the first things I actually added when after the Kickstarter ended. Purely because I wanted to. It's one of those things that would need a lot of testing, and I wanted to have it in as soon as possible.
Yeah, and see, this is something that's using existing assets that adds a lot to the gameplay. The game basically plays completely differently, and you guys didn't really have to draw any new sprites or anything, so...
Yeah, it's just swapping that. So, just a little bit, I don't know how to what extent you have explained the tag to the guys. Sorry, I'm just going to answer a few questions now. Okay, so the weapons with passive abilities, yes, that's on the next update. They'll show in the move list what their passives are. It was just a little something I wanted to add. So, in other words, for Jazz's chicken stick, you know, he's got the triple jump. With Morbid Star, the club, or the mace, all his attacks break armor easier. And then with Blue Destiny, his Unwin Hazard gets enhanced. And I'll leave that for you guys to discover what enhanced means when you play the update. So yeah, so I added these little things. I like the idea of the weapons sort of not just giving extra moves to the character, but also enhancing them in some way. So
yeah, weapons have been historically terrible in almost every beat 'em up. I find it weird. Final Fight 3 really tried to change that because they had like the favorite weapon system, where every character had one weapon that they were really good with, and they had like a unique moveset with it. But that game came out like 27 years ago. Nobody else has really tried that.
Yeah, that's a really cool idea. That's something I'm like, yeah, you know, that sounds like an awesome idea. Those chests are giving you hell. But yeah, so the passives hopefully will be they will just be listed in the move list of what they do. So like Gunlock for Aros increases the gauge's length, and the same with Hayakushin for Hero, because they're nice spammable weapons. So I wanted to give you more ammo to spam. Just Hero's Rasetsu also gives an armor breaking boost. And his Memoji gives him an additional, the one that shoots the hurricanes gives him an additional air turbogen, so you can do that dive in the air, you can do that twice. Which is great when you use it in conjunction with a weapon, like to sort of spinning them towards the edge of the screen and they wall bounce, and then you come in with the double turbogen. What's your favorite character? I've really okay. So just a question. I don't know if I read that too softly. Who's your favorite character to play as in a beat 'em up game? I don't really have a preference. I usually go for fast characters.
Yeah, me too.
So anyone who has a dash, and yeah, I don't really mind. I enjoy playing the different archetypes to see sort of what they can do. From a player's perspective, as well as from a designer's perspective, to sort of see what are the guys doing with this archetype. So I don't have a favorite. I play the Final Fight LNS mod, which is on Open Boy. I think you've played it as well.
Oh yeah, I play that on my streams at my neighbor's house quite a bit.
Yeah.
It's got an Android
so. Yeah, if they could legally sell that game, I would wager saying that it's better than Jitsu Squad. because they've got the Street Fighter cast and they've got all the moves, and it's an absolutely fantastic brawler. If you haven't played it before, do yourself a favor. Go down.
You know they're adding more characters to that game, right? They're adding even more. It's gonna be like 120. I can't believe, like, because I grew up playing all those games, like most people that still play games my age. Like, I know where all those sprites are from. Like, how many more sprites do they have left to add? Like,
I'm starting to think, like, what brawlers are there that they don't have in there?
They're adding Warriors of Fate, all the characters from that, Knights of the Round. There's a couple cool sprites in that game that were like not from like an old game.
Oh yeah, they
and stuff are in that game.
The Street Fighter 4 sprites like Yuri and that somebody had to lovingly render themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah, which I really appreciate. It's a fun game. It's like that's my game that I play if I just want to have fun with my friends.
Got a soft lock here. Let me restart. I've had that happen before. I think it's because I'm a tag combo addict. I think it only happens in tag mode.
Just go back?
Huh?
Oh, never mind. I'll make a note of it. I've seen soft locks on other stages as well, which are odd. I'll just go to those specific stages and just see what the triggers are, and just make sure that there's nothing holding them back.
Peter, I'll send you, after this is done, I'll send you the, I took a screenshot of them. The guy streams himself working on the game sometimes. That character select screen, they look like ants now, like like 8 pixels for every character. It's nuts. They added like a whole other row at the bottom, pretty much.
What? I can't wait for it. Damn. Do they have a release date or the inside information you can share?
I don't have any connection with those guys at all, though they did like the videos I put out for it. I don't have any connections with that one. A lot of these other beat 'em ups like this one, yes. That one, no. I gotta wait just like everybody else. It reminds me of when I was in high school and I discovered Mugen, and I had like a 300 character roster. That's what the character select for that game looks like right now.
Yeah. Such a fun game. And all the characters are viable if you play them correctly. It's definitely one of those get good games. We played on easy for, I don't know, 4 months before we could graduate to hard. Because parry almost becomes essential. Not only for me to game, but also defensively. You can, I don't know if you know, but you can exploit the slime puddles. If you jump onto them and you get a parry, and you can just spam parry and like build up your chain by standing on them and just mashing parry.
That's a useful tip, thank you. Thanks for the backseating. Oh, Fight Forever is, the clips that guy posts, they should be rated adults only. That game looks very sexy. I can't wait for that to come out, too.
KO.
Yeah, when I play tag mode, I like to max out the hit stun decay, and then I switch to somebody with a full bar and I chain it. I switch to them and I immediately push the super button. You can skip like 2 phases that way. I really like the strategy involved.
Yeah, no, there's definitely a strategy. Sort of like working up just before they transform, and then you just go burn the bar. really love the song on this stage.
I'm actually like, I'll tell you guys a secret. I am terrible at like being able to understand lyrics. I've been like that since I was a kid. That's why I like game music and stuff. But I had no idea this was Crush 40 until it was announced on the Twitter. Like, I didn't even make the connection at all, because I was playing this like 2 weeks before you guys. It's like, wow, this is a cool song. I didn't know it had like, you know, the Sonic guys on it.
The audio guy just rocked up one day in a meeting and he says like, I spoke to the Crush 40 guy and he's going to do the lyrics for one of the songs. We're like, what?
Yeah, my inability to understand lyrics was something I got teased about a lot by my family. I've just never been able to do that. Like, I don't know why. They used to always make fun of me about it. That's probably why my music tastes are the way they are.
That's me.
Let's just pop a super here.
So just to fully answer your question, it was we approached the Crush 40 team, Crush 40 6 months ago, I think. Not 100% sure, but that was a discussion that Sebastian, our audio guy, he did all the music and sound effects. And it's something he sort of was working on, like you know, seeing who we could collaborate with. And who was up for it, and then yeah, they just said, yeah, they're cool, happy to collaborate with us, and we're like, shit, great. So that wasn't from the Kickstarter goal, that was just an opportunity that presented itself.
Be surprised what happens when you put yourself out there on Twitter. Like, there's like pixel artists getting jobs on big games because, like, hey, here's my sprite of this random original character that has like a 500 frame idle animation. Then they get hired to work on like some like Final Fantasy game or something. Sometimes those things just happen. The amount of pixel art you see on there is just like crazy. I'm like, it's good to see some of those people get hired.
You really want to see that talent shine. It's the people with a passion for these games and the genres that you know, they put a lot of love into it, and they know what because they are the audience. When you create the stuff you love, you are effectively also the audience, so you know what people sort of like. See, and specifically with like pixel art, I'm also a huge pixel art fan. I love what the guys did with Blaze Blue. Those high resolution pixel art graphics were just like, oh, stunning. If I ever wanted to recreate Shattered Realms in some form, it would be, I would like to have high-res graphics like that, like the Blaze Blue. But that's a very big team.
So I put up a video of me doing the tag mode, and I sent it to Peter, and he said I was like the best that anybody had used the tag mode with. I don't believe that, but
Well, you're more than welcome to show me videos of people that are better than you.
I'll tell you,
I'll recant my statement.
I played an unhealthy amount of the Warriors Orochi games when I started this channel, so I have that 15 years of tag combo experience, I guess.
Yeah, and I really wanted to give a lot of freedom. There was a lot of... I'm sorry, just answering the question here from Shady Lightshade. I haven't really touched open ball before. I didn't know about open ball until very recently, actually. Well, recently, 5 years ago. But by then I had been so used to using GameMaker that I just kept on using it. So
Open
it was
BR is really indicated to use, from what I understand. A lot of the games coming out for it right now, like LNS, Ultimate Double Dragon, Streets of Rage 2X, those are like that's like the holy trinity of Open BR games. A lot of them actually aren't that good. Those are the ones I recommend everybody play, but like they use like custom engine modifications and stuff. Like a lot of people don't really know how to use it anymore.
Yeah, out of the box without tweaking it a bit. But it is still the go-to engine. Like if you want to create brawlers and you need an open source solution,
yeah,
that's your go-to. But because I was used to using GameMaker, I was just like, well, I'm just going to create my engine in this, and I'm lucky that GameMaker actually is so well supported. They recently got bought over by Opera, the browser company. And they've just been doing amazing work with the engine, the GameMaker engine. They're adding so much new features every single time an update comes out, so I'm really confident using it going forward for any type of project we tackle, because it's only getting better. And it is free if you don't want to build the EXE. You can run your games locally, any type of code. The moment you want to build for a platform like PC or PlayStation, etc., you need to upgrade the version so you can do that. But yeah, so you can get a free version and just compile locally, play with the engine and see what it does. You do, obviously, like with open ball, you get a lot more out of the box. But with this engine like GameMaker, you get way more flexibility. But it does require a little bit of getting used to the engine. They're also doing a lot of work trying to make the engine as easy as possible for people who don't know coding. So there's a really robust drag and drop system, like a visual coding system, where they try and show you, where you code by visual. There's no actual typing code anymore. So they're doing a lot of. I really have faith in them as an engine, so I don't have problems using them going forward. So yeah, I wouldn't be looking into open ball for my own games. But like if you're just looking to mess around, and I've seen a lot of games there. I saw a E-Man brawler actually, which was interesting. So I mean, you get lots of nice fan games being made with open ball, and they wouldn't exist without it. So that's wonderful.
Yeah, Max is streaming this right now if you want to see what 4-player co-op looks like. Unfortunately, I don't have the ability to clone myself and show the multiplayer, but I believe they're playing it right now. You want to put them on another tab. They're great people.
Let me just check.
I don't know if they're still playing. They're at like level 4 when I got the DM from you. So they might be done by now. I don't know.
Probably. I'll just catch the stream on playback and see, and hope they didn't find any of the bugs.
Chat seemed to like it from what I saw.
Cool. Because there is a 4-player bug where if and I think I've already fixed it. I just need to make sure that I've tested it properly. Where if you have people died in a certain sequence, then they get messed up. And there's also the thing with tag where not the whole team is in the victory screen or the victory poses. They should all be there. But yeah. Frost is a really cool boss.
Yeah.
He's got a dive kick. What more do you want? So before you come up with tag mode, were you considering tag mode control multiple characters? Fight and Rage. I haven't actually seen that mode on Fight and Rage. I know they've got a lot of, you can play with AI as well, which I think is a really great option to have. Something if we had the time, I would like to add it to, because it's nice to sometimes just have some co-op buddies taking the heat instead of you taking it all the time. But for tag mode, I was always thinking about freedom. Like it's a general design philosophy that I have to try and open up open up the systems as much as possible, make them as flexible as possible. And the first tag mode I thought of was like the typical Marvel vs. Capcom tag, where you could have the character jump in with a specific move, and then jump out again, and then similar to DBZ, if you hold down the button, they come in with a move and they stay in, something like that. And then once again, I just thought, like, why not just have them be able to just jump in anyway, and just do whatever move they want, and then be able to jump out again. So while I was testing that, one of the things I noticed, like, one of the things I also noticed was, like, well, what if I was pressing tag and the other guy was still on the screen? Would you be able to tag back to them? And I thought that was a really interesting thing, and I didn't know how it would feel or how it would play. And I tried it out, and it was just like, wow, this is actually nice. So if you have 2 tag characters, I can't play with 4 tag.
This is the second game I've been a part of, like named credit mention, where the main thing I tested was the tag mode. As I was also involved in Assault Spy, and I don't know if people know this. I know a lot of people in my community did buy that game for one reason or another. The tag mode was originally going to be only for the last level in that game, Amelia's campaign, which is like essentially the true ending. But I told him, like, dude, this is the best unlockable ever. If I could use this the entire time, like, you don't have to make another character, you don't have to make another mode, like, just give me what you already made.
Yeah, just give it to me.
Yeah, just give it to me the whole time. And he went ahead and did that.
And yeah, I'm sure people loved it. It's like the more freedom you can give people, the better. So that's how the tag system works for Jitsu Squad. The easiest way to describe tagging is to say when you can't tag when being hit, and you can't tag when your character is doing the jumping. Oh, Shrednail's taking names. You can't tag out.
I'm not really concentrating right now. That was totally my fault. I should have burst
cool,
it.
man. So you can't tag out when you're being hit or when the character's physically jumping in or out, like that arc that they do. But if they're already on the screen, then you just tag to them. So it is possible to have all 4 characters active on screen at once, all the time, if you, I don't know. I've never managed to do that. I can do it with 2 characters.
Yeah, that was a Marvel moment right there.
That freedom was sort of like something. The moment I saw it, I was just like, I'm not good enough to be able to do awesome stuff with this. But I was sure that the people in the community would be. So it's something where it exceeds my skill level. But I didn't want to sort of not have someone else sort of test their skills with it and see what they could come up with. The skill ceiling for tag is extremely high.
Actually, I think everybody in the chat right now has already bought a copy. I was going to ask if anyone wanted one from those keys you gave me, but they all bought it themselves, so I'll have to figure out what to do with the rest of those.
Somebody doesn't have it, they're really keen to try it. So nice, they bought it twice.
You know, there are some speedrunners do that, actually. They can't, like, wipe the save file. I think some of them... Like, there's that guy that does, he does refund speedruns on, like, FromSoft games. He, like, makes these dummy Steam accounts and buys it, and he beats it in, like, an hour, and then refunds it. Some people actually do it.
Well, he's putting money on the line.
I think the last time he did it was like the first Dark Souls, and it took him like 3 attempts, so...
I think he bought 3 games.
It's pretty funny. I think when he refunded it, he said like the reason for it. He said the game was too difficult or too easy or something like that. Like, yeah, he beat it and refunded it. I mean,
yeah, no, that's mad skills. Yeah, okay, so DJ Lightside, you saw the charging of Jazz's projectile. That is very intentional. So the input buffer, the moment you are, let's say for instance you're playing with Hero, and you are again on the final hit. I use the final hit of his chain because it has so much hit stop. You can, for instance, do the input for, during the hit stop, do the input for Hanami or any one of his moves, and then when you tag out, the buffer, the input buffer for your current input buffer that you have gets moved with the tag character, so he still keeps that as is. So the next time he has an opportunity to do the fireball motion, he will try and cancel into it. And the other thing is any button that's being held down while you press tag will be kept held down until you tag back to the character. And that was also specifically to do with why so many of the characters have charge moves, so that you could like buffer a charge, for instance with Auros, maybe do the charge on the ground while you're doing a combo with Hero, tag back to him and back to so that you can sort of get the effects of both. So yeah, it preserves the input buffer. So anything you input it before you press tag, and then it also keeps whatever you're holding down. Apart from the directional keys, it remembers that as well, and it keeps holding it down until you tag back to the character. So you could have all characters sort of standing on the stage doing one of their charge moves, but they're going to be sitting ducks. But that's the concept. So it also enables a lot of interesting setups.
Peter, have you ever played Warriors Orochi?
Warriors Orochi.
Because I'd be surprised if you haven't, because the tag in this works basically the same.
Warriors Orochi. I'll go have a look. My background in brawlers are actually really limited. Being from South Africa, we didn't get like a lot of the arcade games coming to us.
Yeah.
To all arcades, you saw the mainstays like Street Fighter and the Rainbow editions, and Pac-Man and things like that. But when it comes to stuff like Alien vs Predator, you had to go to like the city centers, to the big arcades, and then there would be like one copy of it there. And the same thing with when it came to games coming to consoles and stuff like that. We'd also just usually get the blockbusters. And then like all the more obscure things, like what you really want to play, they remain. You couldn't get them here. So I missed out on a lot of brawlers in that sense.
Yeah, I'm really surprised you haven't played those games, because that was what started my tag combo obsession. I had a different career path with the tag combos that most people did. A lot of people, it was like Tekken tag and stuff. I've always been terrible at Tekken. It was the Warriors Orochi games, pretty much.
Okay. No, I'll definitely check it out.
Yeah, there's one of them available on Steam. The latest one is on Steam.
So like I said, I'm always keen to learn from other creators.
Yeah. The game's got a lot of problems, but boy is it fun to play.
Well, that's the thing, right? You don't care much for the problems as long as it's fun to play.
Yeah, you can switch it like pretty much any time. You can even switch in the air.
This is probably one of my favorite assists.
I have to add you on Steam and just buy that game for you at some point.
It's okay, dude. I'll get it. Shade is also one of my favorite bosses. I just like the design. The way she sort of like transforms into like the other characters and does their best moves.
Oh yeah, light side. I'm sure you noticed, but I post stuff in my Discord just because I'm trying to get the link on my phone. I do that a lot. I use my Discord as just a link depository. It doesn't really mean anything. But I tried to reinstall that game. I couldn't get it working. It's faster than like emailing myself.
So yeah, the Raptor enemies, I almost wonder which came first, the Daigo parry or the Raptor. But they were always gonna sort of like have this sort of rapid kick, and we always had this idea like we wanted to in some way introduce the Daigo parry into the game, and they were like the perfect character for it. So I watched the stream the other day as well, and somebody was parrying him the first time, like the first set of kicks.
A lot of people are really popping off when they do that. That's how you know
yeah,
you're a good enemy.
Let's go, just run! But I really enjoy that. I like that people get the reference. And the genocide cutter. Everyone loves that one. Cutter! Oh. Get out of the blender!
So this is getting an XR Arcadia release, right?
Yes.
Wow. Congrats.
I made a deal with them. Yeah, so we're going to be looking at making like a arcade version of the game. It's basically going to be story mode, the version that you're playing now.
Huh.
But just like in a coin-op setting. So the other game modes.
You're gonna have like story extends or what?
They're the guys that do the arcade cabinets, right?
Huh?
Aren't they the guys that do the arcade cabinets?
Extends like extra lives.
Oh, yeah. There's a bug at the moment that like they were dropping right before launch, and then something happened and they stopped dropping. One of the things I want to fix by this week or next week. Because I don't know if you saw them. Maybe while you were testing, you could see it was like a little heart that said one up with little wings.
Yeah.
And then they stopped dropping. And I was like, what? Joys of game dev. Nice combo.
Not playing very good right now. Oh, he's dead too. I didn't see him die. This game is hard even on easy. Like, it's not like baby mode at all. I just like the boss fights, but there's no ads. It's more like other games I've played. I don't feel bad playing this on easy. It's difficult.
We might actually look into easy mode and maybe make it a little bit easier, so people can just like enjoy the game. Because in easy mode, you're there for the story. And, great things. Wow, that's a tough one. But there are so many. One of the ones I like is in Castle Hellstorm at the gate. Right before you enter, you see I don't know what the animals were called in Golden Axe. Is that pink lizard that's swiped his tail? Its skeleton is in the background, and there's also a Golden Axe in a stomp there. So it's that like old scene is sort of like a Golden Axe reference. I really like that one. But there's a lot of good ones. The guys hit them throughout the game. Some really obscure ones as well. Like in the Castle Hellstorm, the first section, there's a cat sitting in the left, like a skeleton cat. That's my cat, Snooky. It's her in a skeletal form, sort of sitting in the background. because she constantly, when we had Skype meetings, she would walk in front of the camera. And they said, okay, we're having this game again.
Man, I wish I could play the X Arcadia version. I would be... X Arcadia is such a cool idea, especially for people like me that grew up in the arcades. Like, just actually having new games again. You know, a lot of the problem is it's... Go to the arcades, it's like just Third Strike over and over again. Like, it's a great game, but... Need something a little newer.
Yeah. I really like that as well. We went to an arcade in the Netherlands, which blew my mind. It was run by Hassan. He's actually one of the assist characters. And it was just amazing seeing all the games that he's preserved, like some really rare stuff which you can only play, like, you know, you can find it in Japan maybe if you're lucky, and then in that arcade. Lots of nostalgia, lots of really cool stuff in there. But arcades are like that are dying out. There's one place in South Africa, I think, in Cape Town, where it's one arcade that has survived. It's the only place you can go to play arcade games. No golf cafes and stuff. I remember it so fondly when I was a kid. You know, you would start the Saturday morning with a pocket full of coins, and then you go to all the different, because all the shops had an arcade game, because they were basically, they want the kids to come there so they buy sweets. So we would just start from one side of town, and we didn't buy sweets, we just played games. So we'd go to every single arcade and play all the games they had, Mortal Kombat, Street Fighter, and we just sort of do like this loop. Yeah, on our bicycles, and it was just like the greatest memory. You know, just having fun with friends and like this whole adventure throughout the entire day.
One of my greatest memories of the arcade too.
So I also still have a very soft spot for them. I know there's a lot of people in America that, I know Max is near, there's some guy near him that was also, he's got like this 3-story arcade where he's just like preserving as many games as he can. And I really applaud people who, you know, take that up, because it takes a lot of money and effort to keep those arcades going. It's a lot of work. Constantly have to fix them if a button gets broken.
Yeah, a lot of the ones in Japan are closing down because of COVID. I'm like really playing bad right now. Normally I shred through this.
Speedrun strats.
Not satisfied with this gameplay right now.
No, dude, you're playing the game better than I am. Like, I would have died so many times much more than you getting here.
I haven't played in a couple days. I've been busy with other stuff. I didn't really practice or anything. It's kind of a spur of the moment. You just mentioned you wanted to be on here, so...
Yeah. No, I really wanted to join you for a stream. It's like, you've been there since the Shattered Realms days, so I mean, I really appreciate the support I've been getting from you.
Hey, you're welcome. Anything to keep this stuff alive.
Yeah, for sure. I just want more brawlers.
Well, there's a lot of them now. There's like 2 coming out this month. One came out just last week. I've been playing that game a lot.
We eaten. I'm really glad it's happening. Like, really glad to see brawlers coming back into the mainstream.
I don't know, it's one of those things that people don't like to admit they like games like this, but then stuff like this comes out. It's like, you know, I liked this when I was a kid, but I started playing other stuff. That kind of thing happens. Like, just like Muso games, you know, those games have such a negative stigma, and it's like, you know, these are fun to play, like... Some people come back to them, especially because they have, like, the franchise ones.
Oh, good parry.
notice I'm not using the supers. There's a reason for that. That's why I'm making this harder on myself. You'll see. There's a reason for that.
Okay. Like her grounded pose and Dash's grounded when they're on the lying on the ground is the funniest to me. Like Dash's eyes sort of swirling in his sockets and her with her like one leg sort of in the air. I actually haven't thought about how extends would affect tag, because if you do get an extend with a tag character, that character would have an extra life, so the moment they die they would revive. I haven't actually thought about that, but it would be really cool though to have extends on your characters. So then you, especially if you have a character who you know is a bit more fragile, like Baby, you stack her with a couple of lives just to make sure she sticks around. Doesn't get killed as easily.
Peter, the character in my profile picture, that's a Kamen Rider character, and he was like, he did the Bruce Lee yell, so jazz is very adjacent to my interests.
So the Kung Fu character.
He was like this edgelord guy that had powers from someone else. He had the main character.
I really want to get into those because I watch a lot of the like the series that you post or repost. You show screenshots of like moments. I don't know those things, but they look amazing. I really need to get into that.
Yeah, I don't really post much personal stuff on Twitter. Sometimes I do, but mostly just this cool shit I'm interested in. You know, look at it if you want.
No, but it like the way the dramatic transformations and the stuff, like it's gold. It's all gold. Oh, I love it.
Well, there you go. GG. A little bit of a rough playthrough, but there you go. Special occasion.
Cool, man. No, you made it look easy. Dash isn't unkillable. He sort of has a set amount of life. If you take him off, he jumps out and he stays out for a while. So if you focus on him, you can sort of like get him to jump out, and then you can focus on origami. Or if you feel like you can face both of them together, then you can. A super usually gets rid of him, from what I've seen. Usually it does enough damage to get him to jump out, but then after a while he sort of like jumps back in again. I don't know if we changed that, but I think almost he's throwable as well, because he's not the main boss, so you can actually pick him up and throw him around.
Jitsu Squad has saved the day.
But I'd have to double check that.
Wow, it's been a long day, and I really need my old man.
He's effectively unkillable. He's just sort of like an annoyance. I think he jumps in maybe 3 times, and after that he stops. Much like the mooks.
the next adventure.
Where does that come from, Mook?
Where does what come from?
A Mook, when you're talking about the characters that sort of spawn around a boss.
1, 2, 3, 4!
Alright, the credits are really loud on my computer for some reason. I don't want to blow out people's ears, but if you look in the credits, you'll see me in there. Actually, Peter, you were asleep at the time. I was supposed to get a code from you. I'm like, I'm just going to buy it anyway. I didn't tell anybody that I was testing this. I let the credits play out, and I'm like, you notice anybody in there? You notice a familiar name in there? That was how I announced it.
Awesome
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah, that's the best way to do it.
Alright, well, hope you guys had fun. That was kind of a spur-of-the-moment thing. We're in vastly different time zones. It's ass o'clock over here, and it's like top morning over there, so it's kind of hard to arrange this. We would have liked to play online, but I don't think parsec across the globe. It probably would have worked a little better than you think.
People buckle for sure.
It probably would have worked better than you think, but I don't think the game really needs to be presented that way. So we just decided to do this.
So yeah, the cliffhanger at the end. We'll just have to have you sort of brood on that. I'm not going to say anything. Somebody explaining the actual term Mook. Oh, the wooden training dummies. That's interesting. The only function is to get hit. Thank you so much for the explanation.
Yeah, that's actually really cool. I did not know that. Wow. I've been using that term for a long time.
Now we know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm excited for Dash.
Oh, I am too.
Working
I am too. Injected into my veins.
Give it to me now.
Yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this. This is a very unique opportunity. I have known Peter for quite a long time, as he said. There's never really been an opportunity to do this, so luckily our schedules kind of aligned. I just got back from kitty sitting like 2.5 hours ago, and then he just woke up, so it's a good time. My internet's been crapping out a lot around this time, so I'm glad it held out for the whole playthrough. I was a little worried because it's been crapping out around this time. I'm like, I don't want it to crash, but I was local recording, so that basically means, I don't know if you know streamer stuff, but local recording is like if your internet cuts out, it's still recording in the background. So if you're doing something more sensitive, like a speed run, the material is still salvaged. It's still salvageable. Whereas if you don't local record, yeah, whereas if you don't local record and like the stream crashes or the game crashes, the computer crashes, you can't get any of it back.